Harlow is one of the most mysterious characters, surrounded by countless secrets. Today, we'll uncover some of them. Harlow was born into a family that already had ties to the Animal Corporation. John Arthur Nomaly, the founder of Animal Hospital, was his uncle, and his mother worked as a nurse at the clinic. Harlow often visited the clinic and watched his uncle passionately work on a cure for all diseases. The boy was deeply inspired and wanted to be part of the project as well, but it would be a long time before he discovered that they were actually working on the very same anomaly gene. Harlow enrolled at the institute exactly where his uncle wanted him to, in the applied research department. He was intelligent, meticulous, and extremely obedient. In the end, that obedience would be his downfall. Nomaly sees talent and dedication in him and gradually makes Harlow his right-hand man. Harlow's wife was a light ginger rabbit who worked in the corporation's archives. One day she brought home a folder she was never supposed to see. Inside were photographs of animals before and after. Harlow's son was born after he had already begun working with special patients. Harlow loved his family deeply. They were the only normal part of his life. He deliberately worked overtime so he could buy them a house far away from the corporation's main facilities. One night, Harlow received an urgent call. An unplanned reaction had occurred in one of the restricted laboratories. By the time he arrived, the door could no longer be opened from the inside. Through the observation window, he saw his wife and son. They had been brought there for observation. Nomaly had decided that Harlow's family would make the perfect control subjects. Then there was a sudden surge. The lights went out. When the emergency lighting came back on, his wife and son were no longer the same. Harlow rushed inside. He barely remembers what happened next. Only fragments. Screaming. The smell of burning and something sweet. Hands dragging him outside. And the words, "We can save what's left." When he woke up, several weeks had passed. His body had been restored. But something inside him was missing. He could no longer truly feel emotions. And every morning, when he looked in the mirror, he would see his eyes go completely empty for a split second. The corporation restores Harlow. But the price is the loss of part of his identity and complete dependence on them. Now he is a living carrier and the one destined to continue the founder's work. Nomaly's book is something Harlow keeps as both a relic and a sentence. He can't bring himself to open it, or perhaps he simply doesn't want to, because he's afraid of discovering just how far his mentor had already gone back then. The corporation didn't simply cure him. Part of Harlow's consciousness was separated and stabilized. That's why Window Harlow exists. He's not just a hallucination. He's the part that was left behind, occasionally watching from the windows, and waiting. Harlow agreed to everything. He became the perfect employee. He learned to say, "We're almost there." He learned to call in 808, the internal elimination code, whenever someone saw too much. He keeps the burned photograph not because he's sentimental. He keeps it as proof. Every time he looks at it, he checks whether he can still remember their faces. Harlow has been running the hospital for many years. He knows that the project Nomaly started was never really about curing anyone. It was about control and evolution through the anomaly gene. That's why he can say so calmly, "Once the research is done, everything will be better." He's repeating his mentor's words, even if he no longer fully believes them himself. This is probably the closest and darkest connection of them all. They both carry identical top-secret briefcases. That's no coincidence. Ron isn't just an accountant. He's one of the few people who has seen the dark side of the hospital and lived to tell the tale. Ron used to be an ordinary employee in the finance department. He witnessed the very incident in which Harlow's family died, and Harlow himself was broken. Ron was the one who saw Harlow's body being taken away, and later watched the restored doctor return to work. Since then, the corporation has kept him close because he knows too much. In return, he gets protection and the chance to stay alive. In Harlow's new office, they talk about Ratthew. Harlow says he's a good-hearted guy, but he causes problems. Ron is clearly nervous. It feels like a conversation between two people who have already covered up more than one incident together and are now deciding what to do with the next person who knows too much. Ron is both Harlow's ally and his hostage. He knows the truth about how the doctor was saved, but he'll never say it out loud, because then he'd have to admit his own role in it. This is the most important and disturbing connection of all. Ratthew found the key to the safe containing Ratna's photo and the note that reads, "The experiment was a success." The shadow now sees everything, saying that he took the key from the dock. This means the key belonged to Harlow himself. Ratna worked in the same research department as Harlow. She was intelligent, curious, and too principled for her own good. When she began asking questions about the true nature of the infection and what was happening to the test subjects, Harlow was ordered to deal with it. He didn't want to do it. But by that point, parts of him had never come back. He either handed her over for the experiment himself or simply did nothing to stop it. The experiment was a success. Ratna became what is now known as the Stalker/Shadow. She is no longer fully alive, but not entirely dead either. She sees everything. That's why Harlow reacts so strangely whenever Ratthew comes up. He knows the boy is looking for his sister, and he knows what will happen if Ratthew ever discovers the truth. Liz is a different kind of threat. She's a former Animal Corp news reporter. She was fired when she got too close to the truth. Now she comes to the hospital as a patient, gradually gathering evidence of what the patients are turning into. Harlow knows who she is from the very beginning. When the player gives him mint tea and asks about Liz, he responds very cautiously, almost with a hint of pity. Sometimes you just have to stay quiet and not ask questions. He could simply call in 808 and have her eliminated, but he doesn't. Why? Harlow deliberately allows her to investigate. He wants the truth to come out someday, but he's no longer capable of revealing it himself. So he simply watches as Liz pieces everything together, sometimes even helping her a little, or, on the contrary, planting false leads. Barney is an anomaly, but a highly self-aware one. He is one of the early successful experiments that the corporation was never able to fully control. Barney retained his intelligence and memories. Harlow knows exactly who he is. In fact, it's possible that Harlow himself once oversaw the project that created Barney. That's why Barney is able to roam around the hospital so freely. The coffee Barney demands so aggressively isn't just a craving. It's something that temporarily stabilizes his form. Harlow knows this, which is why he never stops the player from giving Barney coffee. Better to keep him drinking than let him start remembering.